this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
The total fraud estimated at more than $600 million so far.
Operation Skip Trace uncovered and ended a hospice fraud scheme that defrauded Medi-Cal of $267 million.
No employees or patients. Yet look at the dozens of providers licensed at this one address.
You're listening to the 47 Morning Update with Ben Ferguson.
Good Thursday morning. Nice to have you with us on the 47 Morning Update, and we've got a bombshell of a story for you. The Vice President's task force has now suspended over 400 California hospice businesses for alleged fraud. And apparently that's just the tip of the iceberg. So how much money was it costing you as a taxpayer? The number will shock you. But before we get to that, I want to take a moment and ask you to help the people in Israel with my friends at the IFCJ working right now on the ground for all those in need. I want to take a moment and talk to you about a man named Phineas, who as a child survived the Holocaust. Phineas survived because Christians hid him from the Nazis, risking everything to save his life. Today, he is in his 80s. He can no longer stand on his own or leave his home to receive medical care. And when the siren sounds and the missiles fall, he doesn't have time or the strength to reach safety. But once again, Christians are helping save his life through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. A mobile clinic brings doctors and medicine right inside of his home, providing care he wouldn't receive, especially in wartime. Christians saved my life during the Holocaust, he said, and now again, they're helping me. So as Israel's Holocaust Remembrance Day approaches, we honor survivors like Phineas, not just with words, but with action. Give $45 right now, and you can rush life-saving essentials to the vulnerable in Israel under fire. 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ. or go online to ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. It's the 47 Morning Update, and it starts right now.
Story number one.
So you may remember a story that we talked about on this show, and that was the fraud that is being exposed with hospice care centers in California. Well, once the White House knew about this, they didn't just talk about it. They went into full court press to make sure that those that were defrauding American taxpayers were stopped once and for all. That is why they decided to have a new anti-fraud task force. And they didn't just put some random person in charge of it. No, the president said it was going to be led by the Vice President, J.D. Vance. Well, now we've got quick results. Over 400, I'm going to say that number again, over 400 hospice and nearly 24 home health agencies in California are having their payments suspended due to troubling findings, with the White House issuing a grave warning to suspected fraudsters. Since the task force to eliminate fraud was launched just on March the 16th, J.D. Vance and his team have hit the ground running to root out where the American taxpayers are being ripped off by bad actors. On March the 25th, just 9 days after they launched this, a source familiar with the matter has now said that the task force and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services had identified and suspended already at that point, in just 9 days, 70 Los Angeles-based hospice and home health businesses that showed red flags of being, fraudulent. As of Wednesday, that number has skyrocketed to 447 hospice businesses, and 23 home health agencies around the state have been cut off because of alleged fraud, with the total of those suspensions being valued at more than $600 million of your tax money. The numbers obtained by Fox News illustrate just how deep the corruption runs in California and other Democratic-run states where healthcare services have taken taxpayer money with little to no oversight. And this is likely, what we're being told, just the tip of the iceberg. Where there is fraud, the task force will find it. That is what a Vance spokesperson said. Continuing, We will not stop until every hard-earned taxpayer dollar goes towards the honest Americans who deserve them. The shocking discoveries in California come after Vance's and the CMS administrator, Dr. Oz, had a February announcement of plans to block $259 million in Medicaid funds that were headed to Minnesota. That is the side of the highly publicized fraud schemes that Governor Walz and the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, allowed to wreak havoc on the entire state. A White House official echoed the statement from Vance's office and indicated that the task force will continue to track down alleged perpetrators of such scams. To all the fraudsters, good luck trying to hide from the vice president's task force. They're reviewing and pursuing every possible lead, the White House said in a statement. Continuing, these suspension numbers and the dollar value saved are going to increase. The FBI, by the way, has raided the home of a psychologist and nurse for an alleged hospice fraud scheme, according to CBS News. And this is just one example of what we're dealing with. Gladwin and Gill were arrested for allegedly fraudulently billing Medicare for more than $7.45 million. The pair was running a hospice with a survival rate of over 97%. I wish I was joking. According to a CBS analysis, 700 of the 1,800 hospices in Los Angeles County alone triggered multiple red flags for fraud. Quote, we are enforcing a zero-tolerance policy for criminals who defraud American taxpayers, is what the first assistant United States attorney had to say, saying the defendants arrested this morning, who are charged with stealing millions of dollars of health care benefits, got caught and now face years in prison. And it's official. J.D. Vance is saying it's not just in Los Angeles, not just in California. They're going to be looking all over the place for this type of fraud. Another example of what they're finding is the California AG announcing a major hospice fraud bust in LA County, alleging that the scheme defrauded Medi-Cal of more than $276 million. Why is he doing the investigation? Because J.D. Vance and the president are not backing down.
We're here today to announce the results of a massive hospice fraud bust in Los Angeles County, and it's called Operation Skip Trace. Operation Skip Trace uncovered and ended a hospice fraud scheme that defrauded Medi-Cal of $267 million. So just to be clear, $250 million. Over. Funds that are paid for by California taxpayers, funds that are meant to provide care to Californians in need. It is unacceptable, it is illegal, and we will not stand for it.
As Nick Shirley, who helped expose a lot of this fraud in California, said, this is how hospice fraud works. It's really simple. You get a small office in LA. You collect Medicare beneficiary numbers. You enroll people into hospice and bill the government for millions of dollars. You get caught or become suspicious, you pack up and walk away with millions. This is exactly why the president and the vice president are doing what they're doing now to try to stop all of this. As Fox News described it, here's how they summed up simply what the president has done in 30 seconds.
The anti-fraud task force led by Vice President J.D. Vance has suspended 447 hospices and 23 home health agencies suspected of fraud right here in Los Angeles. The total fraud estimated at more than $600 million so far. We talked about that recently with the CMS administrator, Dr. Mehmet Oz. The number of suspensions is roughly a 539% increase from the 70 reported by Fox News Digital at the beginning of April.
Now, one of the byproducts of all of this fraud and just how big it is and how many millions and then billions of dollars have been stolen from taxpayers is the fact that the media is actually now being forced to cover this. Even the CBS Evening News gave an entire 1 minute and 46 seconds to tell America about this, maybe for the first time they've heard about it.
An update tonight in our CBS News investigation into hospice fraud in Southern California. Our team was the first to report charges filed against more than 20 suspects in what's described as a $267 million fraud case with zero legitimate patients. Here's CBS News correspondent Adam Yamaguchi.
CBS News obtained exclusive body camera footage showing California Department of Justice officers raiding 10 homes and offices in a crackdown of suspected hospice fraud. State Attorney General Rob Bonta says they've charged 21 suspects.
What will address fraud is us doing the hard work, heads down, sleeves rolled up, doing the investigation, doing the arrests, doing the prosecutions.
Here's how Bonta describes the alleged scheme. The suspects purchased personal information from the dark web, used it to enroll in California's state-run Medicaid program, then used 14 hospice companies to bill the government for this phantom care. All of it coming from taxpayers.
There were no actual services, no hospice centers.
For months, CBS News has been uncovering signs of potential hospice fraud. We found one doctor's name on claims from 126 hospices. He wouldn't speak with us. Medicare Chief Dr. Mehmet Oz announced on social media they revoked that doctor's ability to bill the system. It's become a political flashpoint, with Democrats and Republicans trading blame, even as state and federal officials try to work together.
It is a challenging time between some states like California and our federal partners. We remain committed to partnership.
CBS News has learned those officials are now working through 300 open investigations in California. Adam Yamaguchi, CBS News, Los Angeles.
More than 300 investigations, and the fraud is so bad that even CBS Evening News is like, all right, we'll get in on this. The story's just too good for us to not talk about. Even Fox News Channel visited the site of 100+ hospice agencies, which all happen to be in literally one building. Listen to this.
The building looks like that supposedly houses 197 different hospice and healthcare companies.
That's California lawmaker Ali Macedo investigating suspected hospice fraud in L.A.
I did not see a single person coming in or out of the building.
Neither did we in January.
Lots of offices, but no people.
3 floors, no employees or patients. Yet look at the dozens of providers licensed at this one address. 5 years ago, state auditors flagged this location for potential fraud. They say they found non-working phones, locked doors, and stolen Medicare numbers.
In LA County, California, 89 hospice companies are registered to a single address.
Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill say California's weak oversight helped perpetuate fraud, a charge Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom denies.
We've been very aggressive as it relates to going after the fraud and abuse.
He also says hospice fraud involving Medicare falls under federal jurisdiction. Well, that's misleading. State law says California is responsible for licensing, inspecting, and investigating hospice complaints and can deny, suspend, or revoke licenses.
This problem is on his hands, and he's refusing to put in rules and regulations
that lawmakers mandated take effect by January this year, including better background checks, a ban on multiple hospices sharing a single office, more comprehensive on-site inspections, and face-to-face meetings before awarding a license. We asked Newsom why his administration missed the deadline.
We've eliminated over 280 licenses. We've been on this since late 2021.
So what the governor does not say is the sweeping reforms that auditors want have largely not been imposed. And LA County still has 1,500 more hospices, Dana, than New York and Florida combined, including 500 in a 3-mile radius. Makes no sense. And they're billing Medicare double the national average.
There it is. The real story. This is, number one, the tip of the iceberg. And number two, costing you billions of dollars. And the President of the United States of America has said to the Vice President, you're in charge. Go find the fraud, go after the fraudsters, and make sure that American tax dollars are not being wasted and sent out of the country by illegal immigrants, for example, in Minnesota as well.
Thank you for listening to the 47 Morning Update with Ben Ferguson. Please make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. And for more in-depth news, also subscribe to the Ben Ferguson Podcast, and we will see you back here tomorrow.